So let's go on to track number 16. We're in the second half of the album now. Yet another single. Didn't hear this one either. This is Breath Control featuring Wiz Khalifa.
Everything that I have, I'm thanking God for it now. I'm taking all of my trees, proceed to breaking it down. They just mad cause they ain't making to the clouds. Tried their best, but they just ain't getting accounted for.
Tell me who really wanted everything that they talking about. I already done it. Don't fuck with their narrative. And how they spun it like back in the day, I was in a minivan, though. Back in the day, I was in a minivan, though. Sipping on something and whipping it slow. 2010, I remember when Logic bringing it back to the rap shit. That two dope boys, that pip. Give a fuck about a rap list. Winning $1 million, I'm on that list. On the map like an atlas.
Don't try to rap along. Don't try to recite it. Don't waste your time. I know no one else can't do that.
Another pretty smooth one. The Wiz Khalifa verse was a pretty like slow moving one. A steady, slow flow from Wiz Khalifa. And hey, it worked as a nice little smooth track. I like the sort of beat switch that was in the track. Logic rapped fast throughout the whole thing, just weaving in and out of the beat with this flow. Breath Control, again, it was a good track, man. I am really curious to see how I'd feel listening to this just as the songs, though. I want to listen to it just as the songs and see how well it flows together. And if I'm gonna burn out of it when it's just the music. Because right now I'm sitting in this chair, I'm sweaty as hell. We've still got another half of the album to go, but I'm still enjoying the music, man. So let's move on to track number 17 on the project. This must be another skit because it's under a minute. It's NEMS, NEMS, and let it roll straight into track number 18, Nardwuar.
Logic, man, this is NEMS. Let me tell you something about yourself real quick. Don't ever disrespect me with half curly, half straight hair, bro. What type of shit is that? Don't ever disrespect me.
It's Nardwuar, that human serviette from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And
It's so cool to hear Nardwuar on an album. Okay, so this is the Doc D feature. I haven't actually listened to the Doc D mixtape, I just remembered that.
What's the difference between you and me? Came from nothing, now I'm rocking Louis V. Suck my dick, it's Doc D. Not a single one of you motherfuckers is coming close. I've been working on that planetary destruction, numero dos.
Okay, so that was two extremely short ones back to back. NEMS, I'm not familiar with who NEMS is, but he was basically just dissing Logic, kind of like the Michael Rappaport skit. The skits are kind of cool on the first listen, but I could definitely do like without them on the album when I listen to it again. And then Nardwuar, I thought it was really cool to hear Nardwuar on an album though. I think he should be on more rap albums. And Doc D, which is obviously, you know, Logic's alter ego, I haven't listened to the Planetary Destruction mixtape, but I need to do that because he just said on this track he's working on the second one. Yeah, and he's mentioned it a couple of times throughout this album. This is his final CD on Def Jam, and honestly he sounds really excited about it. He sounds really excited to be off of a label. That's cool because that means his next album is going to be, you know, completely independent. So let's go on to track number 19, Kickstyle, featuring iamJMARS, Big Lenbo, and C Dot Castro. I'm really excited to hear this. It's going to feel like a real throwback to the Young Sinatra days, I'm assuming.
As you can see, I am proficient in the art of digging.
Bit of a Wu-Tang vibe.
I love that you feeling it's like what draws aim to. Do more than just please, more like to ease painful everyday life that my people been struggling to wade through. Before I got it and make it humble, but dark and Satan, hold up. Please don't think no part of this language is ain't go for ya. I swing at these beats, telling me in sashimi, itadakimasu, really I do humbly receive.
microphone madness, one step beyond. Turn around and look a decade we've been on.
To the start of this, before the fame came, left it smart when the flame was a spark. Had nothing to lose, everything to gain. I want beef, then we bring it a la carte. Nigga, wait on College Park.
This is starting to become like the promotional album for College Park. Okay, Kickstyle was alright. It's one that I wasn't as crazy about as I expected to be, with it having Big Lenbo and C Dot Castro on it. Logic's contributions were pretty short because he basically dropped in and out throughout the JMARS verse. Big Lenbo was cool and C Dot Castro was cool. But hey, if they've got more songs together on College Park, I'd definitely be happy to hear them. So yeah, Kickstyle, again, it wasn't bad, but it was one that I thought was just okay. Track number 20, EarlyBird, and then that goes into track number 21, 10 Years, featuring Royce the 5'9", man. Gonna be interested to hear that one.
Sampling is like,
oh, EarlyBird is the Earl Sweatshirt feature.
What your influences are, so you're honoring it with those details.
Hey there, Bobby, it's Rain.
Rain Wilson.
It would be logical for you to call me back.
feet all on the couch like I'm Rick James. Skyline of the city through the window pane. Yo, my Rolodex shine brighter than my Rolex. Trust my gut cause I know best. Can't fuck with that mumble schmumble shit, it fucking burdens me.
Not mumble schmumble shit. We can't make that a thing, mumble schmumble.
10 years on Def Jam, I kept the lights on. What?
The chain immaculate, the black glisten the same as the jewelry. The pain is practice, just sit back cause this shit came with the groupie. The stainless Mac and clip attachment fit the frame of this Uzi. This ain't no acting, reenacting scripts, this ain't a real movie.
I can't remember where I saw this, but I feel like ages ago, I saw Royce the 5'9" say something where he said, in every verse that he does, he always tries to fit in at least a couple lines where every single like syllable in the line rhymes with the next line. I feel like that's what he's doing here with this section, and it's fucking impressive.
Slugs to whoever the fuck that loves you. This could get uglier than a thumb flex lug boot.
10 Years was another great song. I really loved the Royce the 5'9" feature on there. It was crazy. I think Logic and Royce should work more together. They also had Mode and Mode 2 from the Prime album. And the song got its name 10 Years from Logic having been with Def Jam for 10 years now. It's another just great boom bap throwback style of sound. I am sort of reaching that point where, you know, my energy is just naturally dropped quite a bit, but I'm still enjoying the project, man. Let's go into the next song, man. Porta 1 featuring RZA of the Wu-Tang Clan. Let's go.
We should
nice. Bring the ruckus sample.
That motherfucker Tarantino dawn till dusk. Hit the homie Mac DeMarco like, what up, my man? Talk shit, get hit quick. Give a fuck what you talk about, Chuck and suck my dick.
I rip shit hardcore like porno flake bitches. Classic like turntables beat.
Reference back to the song as well.
Like Patti LaBelle sang, but me and Logic no thing. Final days, leave your mind astray.
What a good sample to have, man. Bring the ruckus from Enter the Wu-Tang. It's a great song, great way to open up that album. That's one of my favorite rap albums in the 90s, actually, and Wu-Tang Clan might just be my favorite rap group of all time. And obviously, Logic started off his verse with the Wu-Tang reference, I come rough, tough like an elephant tusk. It was Ghostface Killer that said that, and RZA started off his verse. He also referenced his own verse on Bring the Ruckus. That's a great song, so it was really cool to hear that sampled on this one. As a big Wu-Tang Clan fan, I really like this song. Track number 23, NeedleDrop. I wonder if there will be any discussions here about how Logic wanted to murder him. And that rolls into track number 24, introducing Nezi, featuring Nezi Momodu.
Or would I have to call you and like literally leave a message on your voicemail box? What is the general tone of the other people who are...
Man, this man is criticizing his own voice message before he's even made it.
Any musician I find, I let them shine like Tron. Press the demo and pass it person to person, yeah, it's on. Watch it spread like Omicron. What do you do with the audience you brought in? Pass the baton and let the next one take it from me. Found a strong black woman from the land of Nigeria. Now let me pass the mic to Nezi, show him something serious.
It's the lyrically homicidal, Fido spitting for your idol, vital. I did bleed, switching these floors like clothes. Get big dough when I rip these hoes like a motherfucking GI. My niggas got a whole lot of money like B.I. Biatch. Quick with the game.
Logic is basically just rapping, sort of like narrating his thoughts, you know, like it was like the one that was asking Madlib to rap again. This one was to introduce someone else, that being Nezi. Logic's whole verse was basically just to set up her coming into the track, and I thought it was pretty nice bringing someone new and putting them on a big platform, which is really cool of him to do. I thought Nezi was pretty nice on this, had an interesting delivery, had a lot of sort of like kind of animated sounding parts of it. It was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool song. Like I said, I'm having a bit less to say about these as it goes on, just because it's been a lot of different tracks, and there is some of them that are sounding slightly like similar to me now. Let's move on to the next one. Again, this was another single, another one that I haven't heard. It's Orville featuring Blu Exile and Like. And while we're on the topic on this video of music that I haven't listened to Below the Heavens before. That's another one where I've just been kind of like waiting for the perfect moment to listen to it, and it's to the point where I've never got around to it before.
Bitch, I'll orphan you. Shape shift and morph into your mom. Slit your throat and make it look like she's the one that committed a crime. Now logically, I'm the top MC. How dare you got the nerve to bring that weak shit? Neuropathy, ain't no stopping me. Shit.
From irrelevant back to relevant in a matter of seconds. Shatter misconceptions misdirected and headed in my direction. Logic asked me what the deal. Back then it was a film per album plus a couple mil. Plug pulled the rug from up under my wheels.
The production on that in particular, I really like the Exile and 6 production on there. But that sample, smooth as hell, man. That's definitely one that I'm gonna need to, like, after I finish this listen to the album, I'm gonna listen to that song again on its own, because it's just the fact that having sat here listened to 25 tracks before this, it kind of, or 24 tracks before that one, it does kind of burn you out a little bit, you know? So having this so late in the album, I feel like I didn't fully process it, but it was still pretty nice, and I definitely loved the production on it. I'll still take, you know, 20 plus tracks of really good music over 10 tracks of like mediocre music. So let's move on to track number 26. We're getting pretty close to the end of the album now. Is Carnival featuring AZ. Life's a bitch and then you die. That's why we get high, cause you never know when you're gonna go.
It's never complicated, the basics spin me from straight with 10 G's to vase and Bentleys. School from Palms Beach to the pretty sands and the Turks. 50 grand dispersed, never planned for the worst.
Hey yo, life's a bitch, we knew that. Guns drawn with a loot at. Chillin' at the crib, bumpin' Lupe and Lupac. Then y'all snatching a purse, black and white like clerks. Take them to church with the verse. Chopping samples with Doc in another universe. Bitch, I'm in the middle of literally no way you could ever get rid of me. Cause I started from the bottom, the basement of fucking garbage.
Logic, that's a verse. That is a verse. Wow.
That is indeed a verse. Yeah, Logic's rhymes were really cool on that one. Like I said, things have been blended together a little bit. It's just, it's a lot of boom bap music at once. Although I will say this, it has managed to carry its runtime, like, of 30 songs a lot better than many other rappers would do it. The length of this album is a bit of a negative for me, but it's not as much of a negative as I imagined it would be. So, track number 7, we got another skit, so we're gonna let it run into the next one. Lena's Insight, and that's gonna run into Vinyl Days, which I have heard and I reacted to on my second channel, featuring DJ Premier on the scratches. Let's go.
Alright, those are my 2 thoughts. They feel pretty honest to where I'm at right now. And this is not for your album, this is just me telling you about the 2 things I just said.
So I wasn't too sure the first time I listened to this on my first reaction, because it was the first time I heard it, and I was just going by the credits, but 6 produced this whole thing. Like, DJ Premier didn't produce on this, and 6 did a beautiful job with this production, man. I love it.
Out the country so much they like easy gringo. Straight off the 2-track, don't need a single. A barbecue grilling these rappers in Croc sandals. Got money to cop Lambos, but I'd rather chop samples. Many see the bigger picture. So we.
And there's DJ Premier working his magic.
This is logic. This is logic. This is logic.
Yeah, Vinyl Days is a great track, man. 6 did just such an amazing job with the beat on that one. I love the strings. When I first heard it, I thought that DJ Premier was involved with the production, but he specifically went on to say that he wasn't. He didn't do any production. He just did the scratching at the end of the song, which sounded great as well. Just adds to that just old school golden age of hip hop vibe. Great title track from the album, and just a lot of great bars from Logic on it. I really like that song. God, my leg feels like the blood flow has been cut off to it now. I've been sitting in this chair for a long time. This album is gonna give me deep vein thrombosis. But I like the album, so there's that. We're getting into the end of the album now. I'm very interested to see how this 10-minute closing track is going to sound, but before that, we have track number 29 featuring The Game. I guess I love it. I don't know if that's a reference or not to, you know, the track Hate It or Love It by The Game, but we'll see, because if it is, you know for a fact Logic is going to reference it in the lyrics, so we'll see.
I snatched the mic off LL's arm and strangled cannabis with it. Sit with the body for 7 days.
The name drops already.
Told logically I shouldn't be honest with him, cause I'm way too disrespectful, and I was just being honest with him. Fish scale weigh 10 whales and handle dope. Kyrie and the Pope, poetic justice.
Logic finally had the deal, but this shit feel phony. Kinda feel like I'm back in the basement again. Life's a trip though, cash is dead. I took my money to the crypto. Blast
crypto. Nice.
I got more tracks than heroin addicts. When my son
that's a raw line.
I used to think this shit was the definition of dreams. Now I understand that none of that is what it seems.
The dream seems rhyme scheme, no.
Well, I did it and I'm still here doing it. I guess I love it.
Just me and my fleet, y'all. would defeat y'all. Living now, we're living not at all for you.
Oh my god, the lighting is going to be changing so much throughout this video just because of how long I've been recording this over and I'm using natural light. Okay, I guess I love it. So you can see where the title for that song came from in the last line of the track. It was yet another song where Logic was talking about, oh yeah, I used to think that chasing my dreams was all about getting the money and streams, but then I found out everything wasn't what it seems. It was interesting hearing that comparison of how he grew up and how his son is going to grow up now. When my son goes to sleep, he uses his sound machine, but as a child through my teens, all I heard was automatics. Logic's son is going to, you know, grow up with a very different environment than Logic grew up in. The game feature was fairly nice. I like how he just started it off with a disrespectful name drop, and then he was like, I told logically I shouldn't be on here because, you know, I'm way too disrespectful. And then after that, his verse got a bit kind of flip-floppy. It sounded like he was making it up as he went along, but it wasn't bad. I thought the game verse was alright on this. The next one is the last song. I'm interested to see how that runtime of 10 minutes is carried. I don't know if it's going to be like a last call type of track again, which he already did, but maybe it will be. The final track on Vinyl Days, Sayonara.
Hey yo, for real, look, let me just say this. I want to say I love Def Jam. Def Jam changed my fucking life. There's definitely some fuck boys in that building, some suits wearing ties and shit.
So he doesn't hate Def Jam, he just hates specific people there.
This my Friday Night Lights track 19. From major to independent to sightseeing, my ultralight beam took a young kid out of Gaithersburg. And you'll never know what it means for a kid in his teens. It's a thank you to the people in the building for helping me build the empire that I'm still building. Remember Logic as a spitter, just a kid having fun when I stepped to the mic.
This is nice.
First album, the EP was no ID. Last album, the executive producer is me. I'm set free.
Really is the Def Jam farewell track. It's a very fitting way to close it out.
I asked Chris Aru, my manager at VMG, I said, what the fuck is Diamond? He said, bro, 10 times platinum. I said, never, bro. Never. I'm not gonna go diamond. 1-800 almost diamond. What up?
I don't know how much of this I'm gonna leave in, but I want you guys to know I am listening to the whole thing. No skips. No skips over here.
That's why I didn't stay with Def Jam.
Whoa, the sun needs to relax. What is going on here?
Logic as a rapper is an anomaly, a person who's out of time, living in the present, you know, rooted in the past. And there's very few people who care enough to actually keep the form going while trying to push it forward. Even though hip-hop seems to me, in my mid-40s, to be an old thing because it's been around since the early 70s, it's actually just in its infancy. And if it's, so hopefully he's one of those dudes. I have that belief.
Closing it out with some profound thoughts, man. So I didn't actually know who that was at the end here, but it says here that is from Egon, who I believe Logic has referenced a few times throughout this album, who is a collaborative partner for Madlib. I really liked what he had to say at the end here. Kind of give his perspective on Logic and what he's doing with keeping the boom bap sound alive in hip hop. And it is weird to think about because one thing he said there as well is that because he's in his mid-40s, hip-hop to him seems like, you know, it's been around forever and it's an old thing because it's been around since the 70s. And he says, but it's actually just in its infancy, really. That's kind of crazy to me because I'm in my early 20s and hip-hop still seems old to me because it existed in a time that I wasn't alive in, if that makes sense. To me, it still seems really old. And to think about hip-hop being in its infancy still is a really interesting thought and one that I've never thought about before. And yeah, I mean, this whole track was basically just Logic saying goodbye to Def Jam and shouting out all the people that he respects from there. There was a verse in the middle of this, which was nice. It seems like he's more happy to be out of Def Jam because of the people that he's not really met with. You know, just like he says here, like the corporate suits type of label people. That's who he doesn't fuck with. But there's a lot of people at the label that he is cool with, and he shouted them all out here, which, I don't know, Logic just seems like a really, like, good, respectful guy. He didn't go out basically saying, oh, fuck the entire label, I hate Def Jam, I want it to burn down. He's saying, no, there's a lot of cool people there, but I want to be independent now. I listened to it again for the verse, you know, and I think the instrumental throughout it was really nice too. I feel like Logic makes some of his better albums when he's at like a transitional point in his career. It always seems to inspire him. Like No Pressure was a very transitional point, with that supposedly being his retirement album, and this is like his final album on Def Jam. So this is another transitional album from him going from Def Jam to being independent, and it produced a good album on here too. Or Under Pressure, potentially my favorite Logic project, hands down, including mixtapes. Maybe. I need to listen to them all again to fully decide on that, and maybe I'll make a video ranking Logic's discography now that there's way more albums out than the first time that I did it. But Under Pressure was a transition from, you know, mixtapes to his first studio album. Like, always when it's a transitional thing, I feel like Logic gives you something special, and, you know, one of his higher quality pieces of work. So yeah, I'm sweating. It's roasting in this room. The lighting has probably changed like 50 times. I guess let's just get into my initial thoughts on Vinyl Days by Logic now that it's done. This was a long experience considering I've been sitting here for 2.5 hours reacting to this now, but as I've said before, I'm sure I've said this, if it's a good album, it doesn't even feel like I've been here for that long. And it does not feel like I've been sitting here for 2 hours and 30 minutes, man. Even though the album did start to somewhat cool down for me towards the end, I'm not sure if that's because I genuinely just didn't enjoy the tracks towards the end as much as the ones that were earlier on, or just they're later on in an album that has a really long runtime, and I just need to listen to them on their own to see how they feel. It can definitely be a different experience listening to a song on its own and listening to it within an album with such a big track list. So the length of Vinyl Days maybe is a slight negative for me, but at the same time, you know, it was pretty damn good for an album with 30 tracks on it. Do I like this more than No Pressure? I don't know. But I think this has some tracks on it that are really great and definitely rival the best tracks from No Pressure. And it's just really good to hear Logic super inspired again and just sounding like he's really wanting to make music, you know? Let's go through my favorite and least favorite tracks on this. Before we move into more of my thoughts, I'm gonna try and go from what I remember for my best tracks, but this is something that could definitely change after I've heard the album more. I would go with Tetris. BLACKWHITEBOY might be hands down my favorite song on the project, which is pretty ironic for me. Bleed It. Loved Bleed It. Clouds, I think. Therapy Music, of course. I know that I love that one because I've listened to it a lot. 10 Years and Vinyl Days. I'll go with that as my favorite tracks right now. As for least favorites, I'm really happy to say that it's quite hard to pick what my least favorite tracks are on here because there's not a lot of them really. I'd have to go with Kickstyle, which is a shame because I was really excited to hear Kickstyle, but at the same time, I still do hope that, you know, iamJMARS and Big Lenbo and C Dot Castro, I hope that they still play a part in College Park because I would like to hear them on more songs together. I just think it's that particular song that missed for me. Outside of that, what else? I'm not really going to pick any of the skits' favorites or least favorites because for me, they're just there. I feel like Kickstyle was the only one, or at least the main one, that kind of missed for me on this project, and on an album with this much music, pretty damn good to just have one least favorite on it, you know? So yeah, Vinyl Days, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I enjoyed the album, man. All the features were picked pretty well. Who were my favorite features on here? I think probably Langston Bristol. I really liked Langston Bristol. I'd never heard of him before, but he was really good on this project. Royce the 5'9". Royce the 5'9" was great on here. I loved RZA on Porta 1. Nezi was pretty interesting. I'm gonna have to check out some of Nezi's music because she had some little interesting twists in her delivery that I quite liked. The AZ verse, yeah, I just think it was a really cool throwback boom bap style of project. And I'm still thankful that it wasn't called Young Sinatra 5 because it avoids those comparisons and it makes it its own thing. From this first listen, it feels like Logic might be making my top 10 albums of 2022 list. Logic's rapping was just solid, on point. There was a few of those small gripes that I have with his lyrics, but not a lot. And I love the way he delivered on songs like BLACKWHITEBOY and Bleed It, man. Those were intense. It does feel like a very, how do I put this? A very cultured rap album, one that very strongly has a focus on the culture of hip-hop, you know? It definitely feels like an album from someone that's extremely passionate about rap music, and I think that's cool. It does give you those old Logic vibes and reminds you of what his music was about in the early days and the kind of style that he did back then. I just think he pulled this off really well. A rap album by a rap fan that knows how to rap. That's the best way that I could put Vinyl Days. I hope you guys had a good time watching the reaction, so let me know down in the comments below what you guys thought of Vinyl Days by Logic, what your favorite tracks are, if there's any least favorite tracks you had, because I could only really pick one. And also, you know what, actually, I keep forgetting to do it in these reactions because I'm so used to doing album reactions on my second channel. I'm gonna shout out my biggest supporters on Patreon, because I keep forgetting to do that in these reactions because I used to just not do it on the second channel. I'm gonna do it right now before I forget. You know, gotta show love to them. Big shout out, of course, to my beautiful, sexy supporters on Patreon, and those are Gear, Big Daddy Foe, Griffin Upchurch, I Am Regent, and Ryan Shadow 507. CDTV the P, signing out.